Loads of price reveals. It's time to rank the 10 best forwards. Welcome to the Gianni Battici show. Hope you guys are well. In at number 10, though, we're going to start with Richarlison. And when we rank these players, we're looking at value. And it's really difficult to say, yeah, they'll be in my team or they won't be until we see all of the players out. And of course, until we see preseason form, till we see potential injuries, potential transfers in and out. And when we talk about transfers, Richarlison one who isn't guaranteed to be at Spurs next season. Also, there's forwards on the wish list of some managers, and I'd say Ange Postecoglou is probably shopping in that direction too. So Richarlison, if he is Spurs' first choice number 9, and that's a big if, and if he's fit, and if he's in favour, then at 7 million, he's an absolute steal. And when the fixtures are right, I've no doubt we'll own Richarlison at different points throughout the season. Do you remember when Son went to the Asia Cup? Richarlison was the main man, and we saw huge points from him. At 7 million, I think he's probably been priced a little bit low. So he does make my top 10 list. Does he make yours? Is he in your team? Probably not going to be in many first drafts, let's be honest. But let's see how he looks pre-season. Remember, he didn't make the Brazil squad for the Copa America. He was injured at the end of last season. But the opening fixtures are good for him. It's Leicester, then Everton. So the opening two we quite like. Leicester away, Everton at home. Then it's a tough trip to Newcastle. Home against Arsenal. You'd expect that fixture still to have goals, though. And then home to Brentford. So he's in at number 10. I'm ranking these in order of likelihood of probably being in my team, but also in terms of value and what they offer as options. Guys, please do hit those buttons, like, and if you're new around here, subscribe. We've got so much preseason content planned. Let's continue with the ranking then. At number 9, we have Jean-Philippe Mateta. Now, this is a really interesting case because, well, one, I feel like he's been priced maybe 0.5 too high. We know that Eze is 7 million. Right? I don't think Mateta should be more than Eze. I think they should be the same. Or if anything, I would probably rank Eze slightly higher. So he's had a huge price hike, but it is warranted. When we look at the end of season form, or since Glasner took over at Palace, Mateta averages pretty much a goal involvement a game. Like, he has been flying under Glasner, and he's in the peak of his career. I think he's about 26, 27 years old. He's in the France Olympic squad. Now, the Olympics is like under 21s or whatever it is. They're allowed, like, I think 3 players that are overage, and Lacazette is one and Mateta is another. So he will be playing in the Olympics for France in the next days, weeks, right? Now, they've had a warm-up game and he scored against Paraguay. He was recalled. He's going to miss the final warm-up game for France because, and Thierry Henry is the manager, by the way, of this France team, because Glasner's called him up for tests of pre-season. So he's still been involved in some Palace pre-season, but pretty much he's been away. So will he be ready game week 1? I guess he will be, and he will be up and running. He will be fit. He'd have started his season early. He still had that summer break because he didn't make the Euro squad, of course. So I don't mind the Olympic distraction too much with Mateta. He's the main man. The fixtures are really nice with Palace. Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea, Leicester, Man United. I see goals for him. I just don't know if he's going to make many top 3s in terms of will he being a game week 1 team. And that's predominantly because Eze is 7 million. If you want a Palace attacker, Eze just feels like the better option. But maybe that changes. Maybe that changes. He has been brilliant under Glasner. At number 3, we have Cunha. Now, at times the forgotten man because of his injuries last season, but at times last season, he absolutely stormed it. Now, he started game week 1 like really good, and he was in the 11 straight away. I remember that trip to Old Trafford game week 1. I think he was player of the match for many. Now, he ended last season with 12 goals, 7 assists. Cunha flew again under the radar for many, and he was cheap. What was he, 5.5 million? Well, he's cheap, just not as cheap this time round. Neto is the same price at Wolves at 6.5. And again, when we're picking between the two, a bit like Mateta and Eze, maybe you go, I prefer Neto because he gets the extra point for a goal and the extra point for a clean sheet. But fitness is his problem. Cunha's more reliable, and those returns, 12 goals, 7 assists, really good for Wolves. The thing that will turn us all off Wolves players, and I include Aït-Nouri and Neto in that, Arsenal, Chelsea to start the season. Then it's Forest, Newcastle, Villa. That's 4 of the league's best teams in the first 5 fixtures. That's tough for Wolves. But then when the fixtures turn, Cunha and Neto and Aït-Nouri, I'm sure, will be on the wish list. So look, he does make the top 10 at number 8, but there's still 7, I think, better players for our game week 1 teams than Cunha. So let's have a look, shall we? In at number 7, Ivan Toney. Does he stay at Brentford is the $1 million question. If he stays at Brentford, I'm probably ranking at number 7, maybe at number 8 or 9, probably maybe actually number 9 after Mateta. I'd probably have Cunha, Mateta ahead of him at the moment at 7.5 million. But if he leaves, and we think he will leave, And depending on where he goes, well, if he's the main man at Man United or Arsenal or Spurs or Chelsea, these clubs have all been linked, then surely at 7.5 it's going to make a mockery of the price, isn't he? Because at all those clubs, he's going to get so many opportunities. He's going to have more creativity behind him. He's going to be playing for a better functional team. Although Man United fans might say they've not been very functional of late, but you hear me here. You expect more goals from those teams than you do from Brentford, with no disrespect. So, look, Brentford starts the season. He could still be around for game week 1. It is Crystal Palace at home. And it's Southampton at home in game week 3 as well. So 2 good home fixtures, but then it's away trips to Tottenham, City and Liverpool, 3 of the hardest away trips. So I think if he stays at Brentford, you're probably swerving him. Remember, wherever he goes, he'll probably be on penalties. Like if he goes to Man United, will he take them off Bruno? Maybe not, actually. If he goes to Spurs, does he take him off Son? Maybe, maybe not. If he goes to Arsenal, does he take him off Saka? I think he probably would, but let's see. If he goes to Chelsea, does he take Pens? Yeah, probably not, because Palmer's record's insane. So maybe he doesn't take Pens wherever he goes. I'll run through them. I think Arsenal, I think Saka could give him. But I don't know. United are, at the moment, and the transfer gossip around Toney is rife, their favourites. Let's talk about number 6, shall we? And it gets more topical as we go through. But guys, I wanted to take this opportunity just to hit that like button. It massively helps the algorithm. At number 6, we've got 2 options. And actually, we might get 3 here because I've just branded the Liverpool number 9 here. Whether that's Gakpo, whether that's Nunez, they're both 7.5 million. The same price as Toney, right? The same price as Mateta. But also, I think we can probably include Jota in this band because surely Jota will be listed as a forward too. So Nunez, Gakpo, Jota. Let me just throw Luis Diaz's name into the ring, right? That's 4 Liverpool attackers. And look, Luis Diaz will be listed as a midfielder. But that's 4 Liverpool attackers, midfielders or forwards in FPL, that will be listed. Sorry, that's 4 Liverpool attackers at Liverpool. Get myself confused here. That'll be up for 2 spaces in the team. That's what I'm trying to say. There are 3 attacking spots in Slot's system. Mo Salah will play on the right-hand side and be fairly central. He is locked, surely. So that gives us 4 very good players, and we saw this under Klopp at times, for 2 slots. Now, often one of them is injured or there's suspensions, whatever. But when they're all fit, who's in the 11? And they're more likely to be fit for game week 1 at any other time in the season. So when they go and they've got an unbelievable fixture run, it's Ipswich, Brentford, Man United, Forest and Bournemouth. 3 of those games are at home. I'm having Mo Salah in my team. I'm sure I will. But I want more than that. Whether that's Trent or whether that's a forward or whether that's Luis Diaz in midfield. Let's see. But Nunez, Gakpo, Jota, whichever one gets the number 9 shirt is going to be, I think, in demand because Liverpool will be a team that produced lots of chances, a bit of rock and roll football under Slot, similar characteristics to Jurgen Klopp when he moved to Anfield. They've kind of gone fairly like for like. Of course, no one's identical to Klopp. But the fixtures, Liverpool are top of all those tickers, guys. Ipswich, Brentford, Man United, Forest, Bournemouth. I say them again because they're so good. I think we're all going to want to go into our game week 1s with double Liverpool. Possibly triple if we like what we see in pre-season. So my thinking is it'll be Gakpo wide left or Luis Diaz. It'll be one of them. Gakpo played wide left for the Dutch and Slot's Dutch, and he'll know him from his time managing and in the Eredivisie. And remember, Gakpo came from that league. And he'll know Gakpo's game very well. And knowing he had such a good Euros in that position, we've never seen him really given that chance at Liverpool playing out wide on the left. And clearly that's his favourite role. I say out wide. I'm not talking about hugging a touchline. He's an inside forward, but from the left. That's where he played for Holland. That's where I think he could play for Liverpool. Or will Luis Diaz get the nod, who's had a really good Copa America for Colombia? Or Darwin Núñez has looked good down the left at times as well. And look, even Jota doesn't mind cutting in, but I think he'll consider Gakpo and Diaz for his 2 options on the left. And I think he'll consider Darwin or Jota as his number 9s. Let's see where that goes. If Darwin is number 9, though, I'm going to be tempted. I really am. But let's see. We really don't know the Liverpool shape and system until we see them pre-season. At number 5, we've got an absolute steal, guys. This one might be the biggest price. I don't know. I don't want to say error. Error is the wrong word because we don't know how he's going to play. He could make a mockery of the price. João Pedro at 5.5 million. That's because we know he takes a great penalty. So he's very likely to keep pens. Under De Zerbi, he was the penalty taker. You never know under new managers. They could change the penalty taker. But João Pedro is very likely to be on pens. He's still the club record signing. He's the main man. He could play as a second striker, number 10. He's listed as a forward. And he could have Welbeck or Ferguson in front of him. Well, that's still fine. João Pedro at 5.5 in a team that, let's see under the new manager, do they score a lot of goals? I think they probably will, because they've got very good attacking players. Remember, March has returned. Matoma on the left-hand side will be fresh. Minty, the guy they've signed from Newcastle for big, big money, he's around 30 million, so must be close to the João Pedro fee. Again, he could come in on the right-hand side for Solly March. Let's see how they go. Ading was still at the club, but linked with moves away to Marseille. But João Pedro could bang. He has penalty appeal. He's 5.5 million. I think he'll be in a lot of teams as their 8th attacker, especially teams that have Haaland and maybe Salah. You're going to need the likes of João Pedro, 5.5 players in your starting 11 every week. So for some that go Haaland, he'll be a 6th or 7th attacker. If you're looking to go without Haaland, maybe an 8th. But a great, great option nonetheless at 5.5. Let's see how Brighton get on. Again, I want to know more about how they're going to set up and how they play under the new manager and how good they are. Everton, I was going to say under De Zerbi, we knew what we were getting, but they were so hot and cold, we really didn't from week to week. Everton, Man United, Arsenal, Ipswich and Forest, the fixtures aren't bad at all. And after Man United and Arsenal, come game week 4, it's Ipswich home, Forest at home. Might be a nice little run where you jump on a Brighton attacker. So at number 5 for João Pedro, what about at number 4? Because this is where it's getting like into the territory of, yeah, these are the guys going to be in my game week 1 team. And I include João Pedro in there. Like there's a chance from here on, they're in my game week 1 first draft. And that draft video will be out this week, guys. So stay tuned for my first draft. As soon as the game drops on this channel, you'll see my first draft. Kai Havertz. Should Kai Havertz have come in at 8 million? Should he have been 8.5? Maybe. Should he have been a forward? Absolutely. This is a proper good change in position here for Kai Havertz. He's been playing up front. Mikel Arteta, the transfer rumours of him signing a 9 have dipped. The likes of Toney and Osimhen have been linked, but actually I think it looks like Havertz is going to be the leading man next season. They're not going to sign a big, big name. And actually, Jesus will be a wide forward or impact forward. And Havertz, the main man as he was for Germany in the Euros, and I think he had a fairly good Euros, Kai Havertz. And he was certainly good for Arteta, especially towards the end of the season last year. He's got a ton of creativity behind him. He's cheaper than Odegaard. He's cheaper than Saka. It's a route to the Arsenal attack. Sure, he doesn't take pens, but he doesn't need to. Being a forward, what does that mean for the bonus point system for Kai Havertz? Well, it's better for him. He actually would have got way more points last season in terms of bonus points if he was listed as a forward. Because as for every goal you score as a midfielder, I think it's plus 18 in the BPS, and for forwards, it's plus 24. It's a big difference, that plus 6. And actually, he would have taken loads of bonus off some of the centre-backs that kept mopping them up, Saliba and Gabriel. So I like Havertz very much. Of course, he doesn't get the extra point for a goal. He doesn't get the clean sheet point that he would have done if he was a mid. I'm okay with that. I still think Havertz is a good option up front. I just don't know if I want him for this fixture run because it is a tricky start. Wolves on the opening day is fine, sure, good fixture. But then away to Villa, and he's got to go to City, and he's got to go to Spurs, all in the first 5. It's only really the homes versus Brighton and Wolves you really like. So again, Arsenal assets may be on ice, but we can't forget how good they are. They should score goals against anyone. They should be able to keep clean sheets against anyone, as we saw last season. So at 4, we got Havertz. What about at number 3? This is where it's getting really spicy here in terms of my rankings. At 3, I've gone for Solanke. And I really like Bournemouth. I just like the fact that Solanke, more than most other players in number 9 to other clubs, this is one of the guys you just know is a talisman. So when Bournemouth score on a Saturday afternoon and you get a buzz on your phone and you go, please be Solanke, you've got a very good chance of it being Solanke goal or an assist. Like in terms of goal involvements and percentage of that involvement for his team, Solanke's up there in the 40-odd%. Some of the talismen for their clubs, let's say Cunha at Wolves, might be 30% or 20%. When Bournemouth score, he's involved. And Bournemouth do score goals, and they're well functioning under a very good manager. Iraola has now had over a season to get his really sort of settled team. And what we saw with Iraola at parts last year is that he's a really, really good coach. And actually, Bournemouth finished strong again last season. I think they'll continue that momentum into the season ahead. The fixtures are also nice for Solanke. Can he score goals against Forest away, Newcastle at home, Everton away, Chelsea at home, and Liverpool away? Well, I think he can. Like 3 of those games feel like Solanke goal games. So I like him for the start of the season. Whether or not he makes my game week 1 team, I don't know. He'll be one that I probably play around with a lot in that slot, whether he's a second striker slot this pre-season. But he's also had a summer off. He didn't make the England squad. And he'll be disappointed because at times we thought he might go ahead of a Toney. But Toney and Watkins, of course, made the squad. Solanke didn't. So he'll feel like he's got a bit of a point to prove as well. But also, he'll be well rested. Summer off, does the likes of Solanke, I'm sure, very, very well. So he is firmly on my watch list in at number 3. Let's see if he makes that game week 1 draft. Guys, please do hit subscribe, by the way, if you're new around here. If you're subscribing, it just means you're not going to miss out on any of my preseason content. So hit that notification bell when you do. Because at number 2, we got Haaland. I mean, it would have been disrespectful, wouldn't it? I think it's disrespectful to put Haaland at number 7 or 8. And where did I probably want to put him? Maybe at number 4 or 3. I don't know. I've put him at number 2 because it's Erling Haaland and he's phenomenal and he's going to be the best captaincy option most weeks for many. But he ain't going to be in my game week 1 team, I don't think. Of course, I'm going to be playing around with Haaland drafts and with non-Haaland drafts. And they look like very different teams because that is a huge, huge difference between, let's say, going Solanke or Haaland. If I go Solanke, I have an extra 7.5 million to spend in my team. That 7.5 million is a lot of upgrades in a lot of positions. And that's the compromise you have to make if you're going Erling Haaland. If you do go Erling Haaland, you are getting Man City's main man. You are getting the player that gets the most amount of chances created for him in the league. The clocks the highest XG. Last season was a really poor season for Haaland in terms of his finishing. That doesn't mean that that's going to continue. We know he's an elite finisher on his day. The fixtures are good for Man City, because they're Man City. It might not be the best ticker in the world, but you still back Man City to win most of those games because they're Man City. So sure, they go to Chelsea. That's a hard game. But last season at Stamford Bridge, I think that was 4-4. That's a game with goals potentially.Ipswich at home, a lot of managers are going to have FOMO come game week 2 if you go without Haaland. And you've got to be prepared. If you're going without Haaland game week 1 and you say you're not going to own him, don't bring him in game week 2 and rip up your team. He plays Ipswich at home. We know that. And we know he's going to be a scary guy to bet against for captaincy. But maybe by going Foden, you can combat it. Or maybe going Salah, who's still got a good fixture, you can combat it. And that's what it has to be about. This is a game of having to cherry pick. We can't have them all. Erling Haaland's a beast. We're going to want him in. We have to all consider drafts with and without him. I will be considering drafts with both for the next month. Let's move on to our number 1 then. You're probably thinking, oh, he's not mentioned a couple of players. Well, firstly, I've not mentioned Isak because at the time of recording this, we haven't got his price yet. I'm sure when we get it, regardless of what his price is, whether he comes in at 8.5 or 9 million, I'd suggest he's going to be one of those two. Gordon's 7.5, by the way. Let's say he could even come in at 8. He makes my top 3 or 4 because he's brilliant. But we're not going to talk about Newcastle forward Isak because he's not currently been revealed at the time of recording. When you watch this, you might go, and he's recorded and he'd be in Gianni's top 5 because yes, Gianni's right. He's 8 million or 8.5 or 9. At any of those price points, I like him. I just wonder if I prefer Gordon at 7.5. But anyway, let's talk about Ollie Watkins, shall we? So Ollie Watkins at number 1. And Ollie Watkins is at number 1 because he's been priced at 9 million. Did FPL get this wrong? We talk about João Pedro. Ollie Watkins, I feel like he's been underpriced. But look, he doesn't currently have penalties. I say currently. Dougie Luiz had penalties last season. Ollie Watkins has got a terrible penalty record. But Luiz has now been sold to Juve. Who takes penalties for Villa in Luiz's absence? Well, Tielemans, if he's on the pitch, maybe, or Watkins will step up. I think Watkins is going to want them again. So whether or not he's good at penalties or not, you still want him having pens. Like, sure, he'll miss some and get you some minus points, but he'll score more than he misses, you hope. So Watkins could be even better this season with penalties. He has got Champions League football, but last season he had European football. He does feel like a bit of a fitness monster. He has had a busy summer. Sure, he hasn't had many minutes in the Euros, but he's been away. So does that concern me? Maybe a tad, but at 9 million, he feels don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Now, when FPL introduced his price, they on Instagram they advertised him as 9.5. So maybe that he was meant to be 9.5. But the fact he's gone on to X at 9, I think they'll probably keep him at 9. But yeah, sure. Clearly, there was some that thought he was 9.5 that worked at the Premier League, or maybe it was just a typo. I'm not sure. So look, Ollie Watkins is in at number 1. I'm sure he's going to be in my Game Week 1 draft. Let's look at the forwards from last season then and just compare, because we've got, look, all of these guys are in the list. Watkins, Haaland, Solanke, Isak, we've spoken about, Mateta. Alvarez hasn't made my top 10. Morris obviously relegated. Jackson hasn't made my top 10 either. 7.5 million option. Cunha's in there. Darwin we spoke about. Visser's not in my top 10, nor is Wood or Hoyland or Semenyo, who's now a midfielder. Gakpo in there, we've spoken about. So look, really, all main bases are covered. This ranking will change based on pre-season, based on other signings at the club, based on different managers and shapes and systems and tactics. So preseason scouting is so important, but pretty cool, I think, to rank them. And as I mentioned, when we get to like the rankings of 5 onwards, from João Pedro onwards and Isak, so 6 forwards, they're the ones I'm really looking at closely, I think, for my Game Week 1 team. But let's see as the weeks progress. Guys, I've got more coming up. Tomorrow I'll be dropping the same video for midfielders, my top 10 from the price reveals. So keep your eyes tuned, ears peeled, eyes tuned, whatever it is, for that. And on your way out, guys, please do hit the buttons and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you very soon. Bye, guys.